right. Hi, everyone. So, welcome to today's podcast. And my name is Tammy, and I'm going to be speaking with Chris today. I'm excited for our guest. Chris is a full-time MBA intern at Microsoft. So, he's going to be joining us to share his journey and some of the tips that he used in landing Microsoft. And he's going to be telling us about maybe some other tips that can also relate to some of the top tech company. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you, Tammy.
How are you doing? How was your day today?
My day has been good. Thank you. Good to have me here. Thank you.
All right. So I just want you to give us a little bit of your background. How did you translate from you becoming an MBA for your MBA journey? How you started and what actually made you to pursue an MBA?
Okay. So for me, my background, first of all, a biochemist, because that was what I studied as my bachelor's degree back at the University of Lagos. And although I was interested in health sciences, I wanted to pivot after school into business. Okay, so I wanted to get the MBA degree right from, when I finished my bachelor's degree, because I knew it's one of the pinnacle degrees you can have when it comes to the business sector.
Okay.
And so I always had that mindset. It was just a matter of time. I wanted to get some experience before going into it, because I know those are some of the things that schools are looking out for.
Yeah.
Especially wanting to go to the top 40 programs in the US. They need people that have diverse backgrounds and experiences that can be great contributors in class, unlike the Masters in Management program that you can do right from graduating from your bachelor's. So that's why I wanted to get some experiences. So I went into our family business in retail at the onset just to learn business a little bit. Then I went into marketing briefly. And then afterwards, I went into financial services with First Bank. And at that point, I knew I had gotten diverse experiences in business, and I wanted to, just broaden it more on a larger scale and, in an international way. So that's why I ended up applying for, MBA programs within the US, Canada, and the UK as well.
Okay. Yeah. So currently, which MBA program are you in?
So I'm currently doing my MBA at the University of Maryland, College Park. Done with my first year. So after the internship now, I'll be going back to school to complete my second year and then return back to Microsoft.
Yeah, for the return of that. All right. So I actually know you are also an international student from Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say motivated you to apply for Microsoft as your internship?
Well, plainly, as an international student, the only or major thing that motivated me to apply to somewhere like Microsoft was simply sponsorship. But aside sponsorship, I also had the interest in getting into tech.
Okay.
Because I've been in retail, I've been in marketing, I've been marketing experientially with CPGs. But I also wanted to, and I've been in financial services. So next thing for me was tech. I just had that interest there, especially with the background I was coming from in First Bank.
Yeah.
So for me, once I started recruiting, I just enumerated all the companies I knew, sponsor international students within the US. And those were the ones I started applying to at the onset. So for me, that two things were my sole motivation: sponsorship and getting that career pivot into tech.
Yeah, so it's very important because we international students, visa sponsorship is very important, right? So, and fortunately, a lot of companies don't take international students, right?
Yeah.
Which is the sad part, right? Because we come down to the US to come pursue our MBA, and we end up getting rejected because we are international students, which is the sad part. So it's a good thing that every international student, if you're looking forward to getting an internship, you have to look for companies that sponsors, right? I know there's a tool online, is that H1B sponsor that you can use to filter, companies.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a period of time that when I was applying, I had the plugin added to my browser. So So immediately I am checking the company. It tells me automatically if this company applies, and it also gives me a little bit of data of how many they've sponsored for the past 3 or 4 years, and their sponsorship. So which is a very good point.
That's smart recruiting.
Yes, smart recruiting. Yes, smart recruiting. That's nice. So now let's move down to the application process, right? As an international student, how wide would you say you cast your bracket in applying? Like how many applications did you apply to, and what resources did you use in your application phase, and when did you start applying?
Okay, so for me, in terms of when I started applying once I got into the US. Not immediately I got into it because I came in late, because I came into the US mid-September. That was because of visa issues from Nigeria, right? Getting visa dates, it was a struggle. So I did my interview when my school was already 2 weeks in. Into resumption. So I basically missed like 3 weeks of school. So by the time I came in, I had a lot to do. The following week, I was going to write the midterm exams. So it was a crazy period for me. So I didn't start exactly immediately. I started towards October and more in November because by then I had settled in completely. I had taken some exams, especially for the first part of the semester. But I needed to start because recruiting season was already open. So that was when I did that. What was the second question? What
resources did you use, and like how many did you cast your bracket?
So I would say at the time I got my offer from Microsoft for the internship and accepted, at that point, the Excel that I used, I saw that it was 49 positions I applied to, which is unconventional because most other international students in class have applied to like over 100 of those positions. But I just, first of all, like I said, I was strategic in applying to the companies first that I knew sponsored, and then I also had my mindset geared on a particular field I wanted to get to. So it was either marketing, product marketing, or product management. And those three disciplines all intersect. They're very similar. So I made my resume to speak to each of those so that whatever role I was applying to, I knew the resume I was using. And if I ever needed to use a cover letter for any reason, I knew what I was talking about that would align to the role. And for me, that was, what helped me at that point in time. And 49 roles is not still a small number,
obviously,
but it's a lot smaller than what a lot of international students would do. So I would say cast your net as wide as possible because a lot of people fail to get internships, and it's because of multiple reasons. The market was down, still currently is down, but one thing I also noticed people doing was they focused a lot on only a particular position. So, for instance, people that wanted to recruit for consulting or investment banking, that was where their mind was the whole time. And then once it gets late on in recruiting season, when these positions are all closed out and companies are giving out offers already, and then they realize it's too late, they start pivoting to apply to other areas in the industry. And then by then they are finding it challenging to get it because those companies have already given out those offers. So but I applied to other areas as well. I also applied to consulting, even though I didn't want to get into that. Applied to other areas, but I had a primary focus. So that's what I would say. Have a primary focus, but don't let that be your limit. Don't be enclosed in that box. Because as an international student, especially in a time like this when the market is down, you have to really cast your net and be open-minded. Just know that if you get something new and different, you're going to learn something new. Your MBA is not going to be useless in that field. And then it's an internship, right? An internship would help you at least learn something new for a period of 3 months. And then you would also open doors, make new connections, and then you would have broken into the corporate American system, of which helps you, opens other doors when it comes to full-time recruiting. You might actually be able to get a role in the area you actually prefer, but at least the internship must have helped you at, at some level.
Yeah. You actually said a lot of important things that actually resonate with me, right? Number one is casting your bracket or your net in a very wide bracket. Don't just enclose yourself. One thing international students don't know is that if a citizen is applying to 5 jobs, you should apply to 15 jobs.
Right.
Multiply by 3, right? And another thing you said is that you have a tailored resume for each position that you apply for. A lot of people makes this mistake. They just use one resume to apply for all jobs. But I believe that before applying to the jobs, you have to read through the job description, right? When you read through the job description, you know exactly what they are looking for, what exactly the recruiters are looking for, those keywords. Then within those keywords, you will now use it to integrate and also filter, put in your resume, and possibly use it to create cover letters. Right? So that is very, very important, because that is also applying, but applying strategically. Because you're not just applying haphazardly. That's what most people don't know, because you see people apply to like 100 jobs. You ask yourself, okay, how did you apply to 100 jobs and you didn't get one interview? Right? Because for me, I had 3 interviews. I had interview with Adobe. I also had interview with Microsoft. Then I also had some recruiters that reached out to me on LinkedIn for actually the first phase and the rest. So that's a very good one.
Another resource that is helpful based on this thing you just spoke about is AI. We're in the era of AI now. Leveraging AI. It doesn't matter what it is, ChatGPT, whatever you have access to,
Copilots
for Microsoft. So it can help you really tailor, pick out the keywords in the job description, ask it to, give it your information, ask it to tailor your resume to fit that job based on the keywords and any other thing that may be important in the job description that was highlighted. And then I would always say, as much as possible, try to make your resume to be a page.
One page.
Because HR and recruiters because the ATS bot, gets to filter these things really quickly. So HR may not get the chance to really see everything on your resume, because less than 5 seconds, they're done looking at the resume and they just want to see what they want to see. So leverage AI to your advantage in this particular era.
All right. Yeah, leverage AI. AI is very, very important. Like I don't see any reason why a student will not be using AI like for your application. Say like it helps you. So let's say you actually got your offer by what, but you actually got your notification for interview 1 month.
So I applied in November. I went to the careers website to apply in November, and I got the notification for interview in January.
First week of January. That was the same time.
January. And then after that, I did the interview, and then within
2 weeks. A week.
Exactly a week. They sent me the offer. So that was the fastest.
Exactly. So fast.
So succinct and straight to the point.
That's one key thing about Microsoft, right? Microsoft has like a rolling basis application and recruitment process, right? Because I know there were some people that actually got interviewed in October, so people got as early as August. Right. So
like they opened the portal around August, September, because they're one of the early recruiters in tech. So if you want to get into Microsoft, you'll be looking at their careers page from August, September, because they recruit early. So I was even lucky the fact that they hadn't filled up, their slot by the time I, applied for it, and still got a chance to interview and get into Microsoft. So
what tips would you say you used in preparing for your interview, right? Because obviously you had like a week from the notification for you to like come up for the interview. right? And how did you answer some of the technical and behavioral questions? Because I know Microsoft is very big, and also not just Microsoft, like a lot of tech companies, they are very big in behavioral questions and technical questions.
Yeah.
So how did you prepare for those questions?
Okay. So one thing that I did when preparing, not just for Microsoft, but in general, I had a document which, I had access to on my phone, on my laptop.
Yeah.
So I leveraged cloud. Right?
Anywhere you go.
Yeah. So I had this document where I had my star stories. So
please tell us what star.
Yeah, star means situation, task, action, and result. But for Microsoft, they have an extra R, which is reflection.
Yeah.
And I found that so insightful because that was the first time I was seeing it.
True, me too.
But I knew that if I had prepared with that for other interviews with other jobs, I possibly would have gone even further. And because I feel like it's something really good after you've told your story on, the situation, the task, the action you took, and then the result. It's always good to have a reflection aspect.
And I think there was one interview I did that there is an L for learning.
Right. It's also like reflection.
Yes, yeah. So once you reflect, what did you learn from the situation?
What would you do differently if something similar came up, So that was, and thankfully for Microsoft, during the emails they sent to me prior to the interview, it's a great company in terms of they're not hiding any information.
Yeah,
they want you to succeed. They gave me links to their YouTube page for the recruiting video guidance. Told me about the star story, the extra R, so many things. So that for me was the guide I worked with for Microsoft. But before Microsoft, just a couple of days before, like 3 days before, I had the Amazon interview. And the Amazon interview was based on their 16 leadership principles. And, it's always tough. So once you've prepared, star stories that align to that, you can almost plug and play any other interview because I just had that already. Yeah. So I just adapted that to my Microsoft story as well. So, and that made preparation for me easier. And in terms of how I answered the behavioral questions.
And did you have technical questions?
I don't believe I had technical questions. Most of the questions. So Microsoft interview is basically you interview with 3 people for 45 minutes to an hour each. So you're basically back to back. So you're basically seated for 3 hours straight. And that was the most intense interview I've ever experienced.
I know, right?
Yeah. Talking for 3 hours.
Yeah. A lot. I did my time. I had one bottle of water by my side. So immediately I finished, I had this 15 minutes break to get myself back.
I hardly ever got a break. I only had like a minute or two, break in between. So I was talking for 3 hours straight.
Wow.
Yeah. So most of it were behavioral questions, which, like I said before, I answered with the STAR method, and they could have follow-ups for you. I would say one thing you need to know is your resume. Know that back to back.
Very good.
Because whatever you put on your resume, you must be able to defend it.
True.
Because my first interviewer only asked me behavioral questions and I answered them. My second interviewer went straight to my resume, just asked me random questions from my resume, and not just one question. She asked follow-ups, like she went deep. So you said
sure that you did.
So how exactly did you, so you have to be really prepared to defend what you wrote on your resume because that would make or break you in that interview, basically.
And even when you are answering, so you have to answer in a STAR method. Right?
Even in a STAR method, exactly.
As you're answering this question, you have to answer in a STAR method.
Yeah, exactly. You have to tell them the situation, task, action, result, and what you learned from that. Because Microsoft is highly focused on growth mindset. And that's where that reflection aspect comes in. They want to know that you're able to learn from your mistakes, learn from the mistakes of others, learn from observing others, and just project yourself in a way that you're always curious and you're willing to grow and, do better in future situations. So that was what I did for that.
Yeah, that was very insightful, like very, very insightful. So currently now you're in your 10th week.
Yeah.
You're in your 10th week. So how would you say has been the most rewarding experience as an intern in Microsoft so far?
The most rewarding experience.
Yeah.
I would say the fact that your work, you're not just doing your project for doing sake. You're doing it for a business need.
True.
And, you know, the fact that people are ready and willing to give you visibility.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's the most rewarding thing, because a lot of times you can do a project and, you know, it doesn't get past your team.
True.
But over here in Microsoft, they want to showcase your work. So to your leadership team,
the VP of
to other virtual teams, to other stakeholders, you know, even on the partner side. So there's that intermingling. Yeah, you're mingling with different areas of the business that relates to solving a particular business need. So you feel like you're doing something that actually makes sense or contributes to the success of the company.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, is like one of the most rewarding things, while also having, you know, to experience a great work culture while doing your project, while working. You're not feeling, you know, so stressed. You know, I came from the banking sector. The experience is very different.
Yeah, very different.
So that, for me, that's the most rewarding.
Yeah. So exactly what you said is true, because you know I had my project presentation, and in my presentation I had the VP of my org. She was there. I had some of the product managers. I had some of the senior directors and PMMs. You know, they want to know what your insights will be, because you know those insights is going to help, you know, solidify some of their hypotheses that they're actually thinking. You know, it will help them move the business to a bigger level and also like make things better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say it would be your, let's say like possibly you have an intern that is coming, or maybe you have an international student that just got the admission into one of the business schools, or it could be someone that is looking forward to applying into this new round of application. What would be your advice for someone looking for an internship?
So my advice for especially for an international student, would be to start early.
Start early. When you say early, what time frame?
So do you mean in respect to just Microsoft?
No, not just Microsoft. Okay. Like okay, I get your point, Sha, because Microsoft early is August. While other places, it could be.
So things like consulting starts recruitment early on. Some of them even do like right in the summer, right? They have summer programs.
Like a pre-MBA.
Like a pre-MBA, exactly, which serves like a pipeline to internship. So if you could start from, you know, whatever country you're coming from, you start on time, you look at their career pages, the career websites of different companies, see what's available. And then once you get to school, a lot of companies start recruiting from July, August, September. A lot of slots are open. So make sure you start early. Business school is, you know, difficult, especially in your first year, especially even the first semester. Everything is coming at you like a truck, like a moving truck, right? So you have to know how to balance your time. Yeah, exactly. Because MBA school is like a full-time job. So you're doing school full time, but you're also recruiting full time.
True.
And you're, you know, also networking full time. There's so many things in between. And you have to balance your time.
And actually, even as an international student, you know, for those that don't have so much money, who like the working school job.
Exactly. You're doing part-time jobs.
Managing all those
graduate assistantship, all those things. So it's like you're juggling different balls. So you have to know how to really prioritize and handle that. I even used some of those stories in my interview in Microsoft and other companies because they were impressed, because that's also a key thing. You have to know how to prioritize. You have to know, because once you get in here, there are different projects. You're working all the time, so you have to know how to manage yourself. And they also want you to have a life, not just work.
Yeah.
So all those things. And then I would also say be open-minded, like I said earlier. Just don't be focused on only one area.
Mm-hmm.
Be focused on that, but also be open to other areas.
Yeah.
So that you don't realize it when it's, too late, because sometimes it may be tough getting these internships in the US on the basis of just being an international student.
Yeah.
So you have to be, open-minded to different disciplines. If you're not great in finance, for instance, there are other fields in business that you could apply to.
True.
There's supply chain, there's strategy, there's marketing, there's communications. There's so many other areas. So know the areas that you can handle. Let me put it that way. You might not be great at it, but you can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So have different focus areas, and then start early. Those two things are very important.
Yeah.
Leverage AI as well.
Yeah, leverage AI. Starting early is one of the best thing anyone could do for their life.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't know so much, when you start early, before it gets late, you'll be able to adopt. You'll be able to improve.
Yeah.
Let's say if you start early and maybe the first month you are not getting any maybe interview. Like you in the second month you go back to check your strategy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I've applied to like 20 jobs. What's happening?
Yeah.
Is it my resume, or is there something I'm not doing well?
Yeah.
So it will give you the ability for you to improve and get better and better for like a future applications and also do this.
So just having all those strategies in place will help you at the earliest time as much as possible. And I'm a big believer. This is not a religious platform, but I'm a big believer, so I have faith. And for me, I feel that's a very key component in my journey. So as much as I work, I also pray. To get these things going, and a huge part of it is God helping me as well.
Yeah, likewise, because I tell people that my internship or me getting an offer on Microsoft are just purely being on God's grace, right? I remember that period of time we got the notification. That was like my fasting period in my church. Right. So we're doing like 30 days fasting. So immediately I started the fasting and I got the notification like, oh, God is working. So I had to double down on it. Yeah. I had to double down on the fasting during that period. And after I got the offer and everything, God has been very, very gracious. And even down to even we coming here and working at Redmond, right? How I got to my accommodation. It was just purely God's grace and everything, right? Even as we're also going to get our return offer. So it has always been God. Why obviously we are doing the work, right? You cannot depend only just on God and not do the work. So but when you use the tool, you become more excellent.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So is there anything that you wish you had known before starting your internship application process? Is there something that you wish you had known that would have helped you or that would have made the application a bit different?
Is there something I wish I knew?
Or maybe something that you did that you will repeat again if you also go into that phase again?
Well, this is something I've said all these things earlier, I leveraged AI and all that. But I believe when it came to networking, first, I didn't really have time for that.
True. You had a short time.
Yeah, I had a short time, a lot going on. So I couldn't also partake in networking
activities.
Especially with like doing coffee chats on LinkedIn with people that work in certain companies.
Yeah.
A lot of people did that. It works for some people. It doesn't work for some people. So for me, I didn't do it, and God's grace worked for me. So I would say maybe I could have done some more networking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily only just to get internship,
like
just
building
your network,
yeah,
right?
super important.
Because that's part of what the MBA is all about, building your network. You never know where someone can come and play for you,
leverage it.
In life. Not to say that we speak to people just because of what we can potentially benefit from them.
True.
But just having those relationships for men is the most important thing on earth. Because we're not built to do life alone.
True.
And even in our careers, we're not built to do it alone. So I think I could have probably done that more. I could have still landed here, not necessarily because I did that, but just to build my network before applying.
Obviously, there's always the saying that goes that your network is equals to your net worth.
Yeah.
Right? So the quality of the network that you have will definitely determine the networks that you have.
Yeah.
And I know that there are places that you cannot attend or you cannot go with that kind of networks you have. Because people are leveraging on people are one of the best options, because I know there are some people that got referrals. There are some people that, they got some job opportunities. They got some offers through referrals because, they know someone that works in the work, and it works, right?
Yeah.
This is something that has been happening in different industries, like working with referral. Although for Microsoft, I don't think referral works, because I know Microsoft trying to keep the playing ground a bit level for everybody. Right? So, but leveraging on those networks really works. And
there's also a misconception when it comes to connection. Back home in Nigeria, for instance, the way we used to look at connection, when they say, "Oh, you have a connection that help you get into a job." Back home, we look at it like it's a bad thing, like it's not leveling the playing ground for other people. Some people have an advantage. But over in the US, that's the main thing. That's the key thing. You need connections, because how the Americans work is that, they tend to trust people that they already know. So once I trust you, we have a relationship, and you're referring somebody to me, I believe you understand that person also has the worth that I'm looking for a particular role. And then to be up to that person to, perform well. So that's how the American system of society is built. They're built on connections, So you have to build on that, build on what you have and leverage it. And I would also say that another misconception people have is the more connection you make in terms of doing coffee chats and all those things, the more likely you're going to have a job or an internship or something. It's not necessarily true or correct.
True.
Because I can tell you for a fact that in terms of getting referred by someone in a company, when you get referred, what that does for you is that it gives you the chance of the HR actually looking through your application or your resume. So, but the HR can still make a decision that you're not a fit for the role.
Yeah, true.
So it's not a guarantee that you would get called back just because you were referred by someone within the company. It's still at the hands of the HR or the recruiter. But it just gives you an opportunity for visibility that, at least they're going to take a look at your application at the worst case. So I needed to clear that misconception.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing so much those smart games. They are very valuable, and also for sharing your experience with us today. So honestly, your journey has been very not short of inspiring, right? Struggling with visa process, and coming in 2 weeks. 2 weeks after how many weeks?
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. 3 weeks eventually. After school, I've started.
Some professors told me to drop their courses.
Exactly.
I didn't. I'm a Nigerian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would have given up.
Yeah.
Because the way the American system works in education is totally different from Nigeria. In 3 weeks, they must have covered in 3 weeks, and I believe that they meet twice every week.
Yeah.
So in 3 weeks, that is like 2 times 3, that is 6 classes.
Yeah.
And in 6 classes, a professor is already more than half of the syllabus
of a textbook.
So and you coming in, you actually doing this for about 6 courses.
Yeah, exactly.
6 courses, and those
7 at the time.
7 courses, right? And those courses, they've gone more than half. So, for you being able to like come in, strive, cope, did all those things with recruiting, applying for job, like even the time you had, it was it's a very huge inspiring to me personally, and I believe that it's also valuable to those that are listening to it, and they actually got so much of the advice. So I want to say thank you for being here, for your time, and also for sharing you. It's really a privilege, and hopefully we get the return of us so that we could stay tuned.
By God's grace.
Obviously. So thank you guys for listening to this episode. We're going to continue exploring some of the parts of successful interns in Microsoft and also other industries. And I hope you guys got value for today's meeting. Thank you guys for joining us. Have an amazing day.
Bye-bye.